Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our writing lesson. And the ally today is to use similes in a poem. Now, we've used similes and metaphors before, so we're just going to try and reinforce that today. So the focus will be on similes. Now, I've been inundated with lots of really good poems, and what I decided to do, and this could be a bit messy, I'm going to read out some of the poems, so bear with me because things will be jumping all over the place. So there are so many I could not really read them all out, but here's one from Jaten. Please, Mrs. Butler, this boy Derek Drew keeps pulling my hair, miss. What shall I do? Cover it with your hat, dear. Hide it with your book. Strap it with a paper, my sweetie. Do everything you like. All my work got erased, miss. My papers ran out of store. My pencil started dancing, miss. My thumb became, can't read that, very numb. So that was from Please Mrs. Butler from Jaten. And Natalia did a short poem, which is really good. The dingling of bells, the crying of the baby, the hissing of the snake, the whooshing of the wind. And we have another one. I'm going to expand this one because I need to be able to read it properly. I might be a dog, a small brown dog, a fluffy, furry, funny, fat dog, as kind could be, and I'd want for my owner to throw the ball again in the sunny afternoon, and I do not think that there is a ball I wouldn't be able to catch. So that was a poem by Sophie, based on The Invisible Dragon, and we've got one more. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to read more. So this is from Fiona, My Invisible Griffin. I have an invisible griffin. She's such a remarkable protector. She shields precious possessions with her invisible claws, pushing away any intruder. My griffin is extremely confident. She straightway saves the people in danger. I'm struggling to read this. Why, she could be saving you from evil right now and be fighting a creepy challenger. So there's our poetry from last week, and I will endeavour to read more during the week. I'm going to slide this down a little bit because I need to be able to find which PowerPoint I'm going to use, and let me see. It's very messy doing this, but we're back in action. Okay, so the writing is based on poetry, and the ally will be to use similes and in a poem. So let us now start the presentation. So remember, pencil, pen, paper, pause button. I won't go on. So let's start our quiz for today in writing. So the first one, in a poem, each section is called a paragraph, verse, segment, or part. What does onomatopoeia mean? A word that is made from the sound it makes, a word that describes the size of an object, a word that compares something to another object using like or as. Do poems have to rhyme? Always, sometimes, or never? I think there's one more. Which of the following are features of poetry? Alliteration, captions, headline, rhythm. And I have mentioned two of those words. There are two possible answers in there. I have mentioned them last week. Okay, some may have pushed the pause button. I'm going to wait for a short while, and then we're going to mark this quiz right now. So get your pencil or pen ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's mark. Right, in a poem, each section is called a verse. What does onomatopoeia mean? It's a word that is made from the sound it makes. That'll come in handy later on in our lesson. Which of the following are features of poetry? Alliteration, Rhythm. Do poems have to rhyme? Sometimes, not always. And that takes us to free verse poetry. Well, free verse breaks all of those rules. They don't follow any rules. So a free verse poem does not have to rhyme, does not have to have rhythm. It can be written like a conversation or however the poet describes. You can see the layout down below. They've just broken all the rules. Does it matter? No, it doesn't, because it's a free verse poem. So some people prefer free verse because they're not going to be restricted by having to follow some traditional rules when writing poetry. They can write whatever they like. So they choose the topic or the subject and they write. So let's look at the poem that we had for reading comprehension earlier this morning. So we're back to this poem because you're going to see if you can come up with some of your own similes to rewrite or write a version of this poem. So let's have a look at some of the things we need to think about. We talked about similes in the reading comprehension. So the poet will use similes so that the reader can imagine what's happening. And then onomatopoeia, we've done quite a bit of work on onomatopoeia. So it does, the word describes the sound that you can hear, like smash, splash, slam, and so on. Structure. Well, we talked about this in the lesson. In this poem, in most lines, you start with a noun followed by a verb. So you have sun rises. Sun is the noun, rises the verb. Zephyr is the noun, catches is the verb or action word. So we can have the same. So we've got gulls soar. Gull is the noun, soar is the action or verb. And below in the second to last line, child crashes. Child is the noun, crashes is the verb. So what else do we need to think about? Well, we went over those word meanings this morning in the reading comprehension lesson. Just to refresh your memory, another word for zephyr is gentle wind or breeze. Even if you used wind, it would still be okay. Normally, a zephyr is a warm breeze. Collision, we now know synonyms for collision are crash, accident, and knock. And soar means to fly up or rise on the wind. Now, if you are struggling for words to include in your poetry, then you can look in the thesaurus to help you. Or if you have a word that you always use and you think, I need to think of another synonym because I can't keep using the same words all the time. So look in a thesaurus, or if you have a computer, you can Google it and you could just write collision, synonyms, soar, synonyms, and so on. So those are the things to think about. You can see the layout. There's only one verse, and the punctuation you can see at the end of play, football, collision, mouth, wind, clouds, and slide. There are 3 dots. Can you remember why those 3 dots are there? So it's something for you to think about after you've read that particular sentence or phrase. Okay, so everything's highlighted in a certain color. So red is the synonym. The sun rising is compared to a blossoming flower. The zephyr is compared to the wide receiver. Essentially, the wide receiver's catching the ball. The crashing waves are compared to a head-on collision, and so on. So get familiar with those. Now, all the words in green, they are examples of onomatopoeia. So you're very good at this now because you've used onomatopoeia in the poetry that you wrote, which is based around the sound collector. And all the poems I read related to the sound collector definitely were all the people were able to use onomatopoeia. So let's move on to the task now. It looks rather horrendous, but on the left hand side you can see I've taken all the words away. And what are you going to do today? Well, first of all, if you're going to do this task, you need to think about an outside place where your poem takes place. The poem that you've just seen takes place at the beach. So you need to think, now, where could I be? Could I be in the woods? Could I be by a lake? Or could I be walking up a mountain? Could I be somewhere with my friends, like cycling on the road? Up to you. So think of a place, an outside place where your poem takes place. That's my son, if you can hear him, making lots of noise. And then next, you need to jot down all your ideas and use your senses. The poet used his senses and he thought about words, things that he could hear, feel or touch, and smell. It could also be things that you could taste. And next, write a list of similes to match the place or activity. If you're in the woods, you would be comparing the trees to something maybe. The giant trees were like, don't know, it's up to you. So the water in the lake was like. So think of similes that would match with your place or activity. I ran as fast as a. Up to you. Right, so next, you need to write down at least 4 examples of onomatopoeia that go with your activity or place. Once you've done that, you're ready to do your draft copy. So use the template opposite. You don't have to copy it out, you can just do one up in your book. But I will put one on the website. So first of all, before you start, you need a title. And the title in the poem had 2 onomatopoeic words. So your title needs to have the same. Line 1 had 4 words on it, and all of them were examples of onomatopoeia, and they are the words that you will use in your poem that you write on line 1. So the 4 onomatopoeic words you wrote in task 1, you're now going to use it in your poetry. So write those 4 down. Line 2, you have to add a simple, you have to add a simile. Plus, you have to include what is happening. So in the poem, the sun rises higher and higher like a blossoming flower as the children play. So you need to write the sun rises higher and higher like a, so write your simile as what activity are you doing? Are you cycling? Are you running? Are you playing? Are you dancing? And then line 3, the name of the place. Where are you? If you're in the woods, then you're going to put woods, woods, woods. You repeat that word 3 times because in the poem the word beach, beach, beach was repeated. On line 4, I've put the wind, and then you make up a simile. You don't need to put the wind. You may be thinking of something else. It could be the rain. It could be the sunshine. It's totally up to you. So it could be smoke drifting from somewhere. But you need to have the noun, and then you create a simile. Line 5. If the wind makes a whooshing sound, then on that line you'd put whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. If the cereal makes a crunching sound, then you'd put crunch, crunch, crunch. So take your simile from, or one of the similes from line 1, use it here. Match it with the activity or place. Be the activity actually. Line 6, you're going to write another simile. So here in the poem, it was the crashing waves sound like a head-on collision. So you have to think about the activity, what's happening, or what action is taking place. So think of a noun and then write the simile. And below that, you will then write your onomatopoeic word that goes with line 6. So in the poem, they use the words boom, 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 because the waves came crashing down. So crashing waves matched with boom, boom, boom. So you have to match your onomatopoeic word with your simile above. Line 8, I've put a little example there. So you might be walking in the sand, the mud, or the pebbles. It depends on what activity you are doing. So if it was the mud, I remember from a lesson last week, we had 2 similes that we could use with mud. The mud squelched like squirming wet soil, something like that. So you have to think of a simile for line 8, but what are you doing in that activity? And then you would use 3 onomatopoeic words, or use your third one, I should say. So you would use squelch. If it was mud, it'd be squelch, squelch, squelch. And then line 10, you just rewrite line 2. So line 2 is the sun rises higher and higher like a, and it depends what you wrote in line 2. So repeat line 2. And then line 11, you just rewrite line 3. So where is the place? Were you in the woods or by the lake? If it's the lake, it'll be lake, lake, lake. And that will be it for your task today. That should take you quite some time. There's a lot of thinking involved here, but you probably need a copy of the original poem next to you so you can match it up with your version of the poem. So this task is not straightforward, but good luck with it. If you have a copy of the original poem next to you, that will help greatly. But think about your activities. That will help you with knowing what similes to write and which onomatopoeic word to use with that activity. Right, so, and that will be it for today. So don't forget, once you're done, you can send or email your work to yr3@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Good luck with the task. Speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now.